everybody, this is Jeff with Island Hopper TV, and today we are going to talk about getting paid to travel America. Well, kind of, right? It's called Explore America, and it is a program that is being introduced as a stimulus to help float the American tourism industry. And some of you guys are wondering, what the heck is this thing? So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. If you're excited to learn about that, crush up the likes, and let's dive in here and talk about this. So this came from whitehouse.gov, remarks by President Trump in a roundtable with restaurant executives and industry leaders associated with the entertainment and leisure and restaurant industries where this comes about. So you'll see here on Fox 6 report, next stimulus package could include $4,000 vacation credit, second check. So basically what it is you travel and you spend $4,000, you'll get a credit. Okay, so from what I understood is if you don't travel, you don't necessarily get to redeem that $4,000. So that brought about some problems. But let me just dial this in here to kind of explain it a little bit more, because it's kind of like gray area and we're all still trying to unpack everything. But according to the U.S. Travel Association, a $400 billion decline in travel spending in the United States this year will translate into a total economic loss of $910 billion in economic output. Because remember, the travel industry is more than just a bunch of rich guys, right? It's people who work in the travel industry, people who work in restaurants, people who work in all sorts of different sectors, airlines, stewardess, pilots. So we've got to have jobs. I mean, there's no getting around that. It's not just like a bunch of money going to a bunch of rich guys, right? Okay, so $400 billion decline, you can see. This is more than 7 times the impact of 9/11 on travel sector revenue, because with 9/11 we were shut down for a little bit, but then we came back online. With this COVID thing, it's going months and months and months on end where travel is not at full capacity, and it's affecting a lot of different industries. The aerospace industry is a huge industry in America. In fact, it's one of our largest manufacturing industries between Boeing and everything we have going on with aerospace. Yeah, otherwise, we're just all military, Lockheed and Raytheon. So this is really important to pay attention to. So last week, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin suggested the Trump administration was considering sending Americans another round of stimulus to offset the financial pain caused by the coronavirus pandemic. So if you want to look at more of this information here, I'll show you right here, right? So stimulus check versus $4,000 travel tax. What is the difference? So it's not official yet. This is still something that's in the works. So don't get all excited just yet, because it's still kind of up in the air. Here's an article from Forbes, Jim Wang. This was posted today. The second stimulus check will not be a $4,000 Explore America travel credit. So you can see he's talking about this. He's saying, if you're curious about specifics, the best we can do in this document produced by the U.S. Travel Association, pitching ideas such as temporary travel credit, right? So you can see it right here. So travel industry priorities: extend and enhance CARES Act relief, incentivize a safe restart of the travel economy, support company-based economic recovery. So travel is one of the biggest industries in America, and one of the things that we had going on beforehand was you could travel pretty much anywhere in the world. All you needed was a passport, and if you got a visa from the country you were traveling to, people were going abroad. They were going to Asia, they were going to Peru, Vietnam, Thailand, Europe, Italy, all these great places that they've always wanted to go to. That is not necessarily coming back online in the short term. Bali, Greece, Ibiza, Spain, all that. But in the short term, it's likely to get at least the American tourism industry back up and moving. So provide a limited, temporary, and immediate safe harbor for businesses that follow proper health and safety guidelines to protect against COVID-19. So when you're traveling, a mask will likely be required, at least on the airlines. If not, in the cities that you're going to, it'll likely be required. Now, as far as hotels, I don't know what kind of actions the hotels will be taking that are different than what you're used to, but stand by for that information. Strengthen the federal role in COVID-19 testing, production, research, and contact tracing. They still want to know who's got COVID. They've really been stepping up using their technology to try and find out who's got COVID, who's been tested. They even want to know if you've got COVID immunity, of antibodies in your body. It's really kind of crazy, but they're doing all that. Provide a federal backstop for pandemic risk insurance. So provide federal reinsurance for pandemic risk insurance to help businesses and organizations avoid going bankrupt in the wake of future pandemics. Wow, so that's kind of interesting, right? Now, some of the reasons why they're having a hard time just passing this is it won't help Americans who are hurting the most. So only people who can really afford to spend $4,000 can benefit from $4,000 credit, which is basically like if you owed $8,000 in taxes at the end of the year, instead of having to pay eight, you would pay four if you used up your $4,000 in credits. At least that's the way I understand it. Don't quote me on that. So, with unemployment at record highs, offering a tax credit to people to travel the country and spend money is not going to help them. If you are out of work and looking to cut your spending, as one does in a crisis, you will not benefit from this. So they're saying some people they're just barely scraping by. They're just barely surviving. So a tax credit is very slow. That's why the stimulus check was an advance on a tax credit. If you got money into the hands of the American people quickly to get the tax credit, the travel tax credit, you would have to take a trip, spend the money, and then wait for it to come back to you as a tax credit the next year. So that's kind of iffy. That's why we're having a hard time deciding if it's going to go through. That's what the big plan is, right? Only those who can afford it will benefit. So the average person, can they afford to travel? I don't think so. It does benefit the tourism industry, which is good. If you want to make the argument that this will help benefit the tourism industry, you are correct. Here's another point they said. This would very quickly transform into why do rich people need a $4,000 credit to travel more? That's a very uncomfortable question that no politician wants to have to answer. That this is assuming people are even comfortable traveling in the first place. So why tie it to travel at all? Why not give every American a $4,000 debit card but remove the ability to transfer the cash to a bank? You force Americans to spend it rather than save and invest it, and many would spend it in a similar way. So what he's saying is basically, because what they don't want to have happen is people get the $4,000 and then just save it, right? They want them to spend it. That's the whole point of stimulus, is to like spend money. They want you to spend money, and that's why they're giving you money to spend money. But if you get the money and you don't spend it, which some people are doing, that's a problem, and that's what they're trying to avoid. So what he's suggesting, instead of forcing you to go out there and take action and travel and move around, why not just give you a $4,000 card and say, here's $4,000, but you got to spend it. You can't put it on any bank account or anything. You just have to spend it. So what do you guys think of all this ideas? I mean, this is getting paid to travel is a pretty good idea, right? You guys have all been asking for that, but does it make sense? Do you think they should do the credit card idea, or do you think they should stick with the travel credit? What do you guys think? Drop a comment below. If you're new to this channel, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. This is Jeff with Island Hopper TV.